Ever since Austin Butler's been announced to play Elvis Presley on the big screen, there's been high praise as well as criticism for it. Although once audiences were able to see the musical on screen, they soon realized how great of a decision it was to have him play the musician. In today's video, we'll talk about how Austin Butler channeled Elvis Presley and how Denzel Washington helped him get the role, starting off with an Oscar nomination. As we said, Austin's done a wonderful job with his role as Elvis Presley, so much so that Priscilla Presley, Elvis's widow, went one step further to say that oftentimes while watching the film, she felt like she was actually seeing her husband on screen. And personally speaking, we don't think there could be higher praise for Butler for his performance. Not even winning the Oscar could really match what that compliment means. Unsurprisingly, he's received similar praise from audiences, and it's very certain that Butler will receive the Best Actor nomination for his portrayal of Elvis Presley in Baz Luhrmann's biographical film. It's not the first time that the actor's given such a wonderful performance, though. He's appeared in films such as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and a bunch of Disney series such as Hannah Montana and iCarly, but nothing comes close to his latest project in terms of his own performance and absolutely nailing it. And guess what? Elvis never received an Oscar in his life, and on the other hand, the guy playing him years later is coming up as a strong contender for it. Oh, how this world works. Following up, how Butler was born to play Elvis. Austin actually started dreaming about one day playing Elvis back in 2019. He was actually approached by his agent to do so. Despite having several successful acting roles in previous years, Butler decided to put everything for the future on hold for this one role of a lifetime, as he likes to call it. In fact, Butler says that he had actually put all of his eggs in one basket by taking such a huge risk. But we should definitely commend his work ethic because he believes that the secret to landing such an influential role was that he gave everything to it. But here's the fun part. Before any of this even came up, a friend of Butler was already convinced that he could play Elvis one day. Listening to him sing along to Blue Christmas in the car, he told Butler that he should give it a shot one day, and in addition, many others had told him similar things throughout his life. No wonder he had already started preparing himself for the role before any such thing had even come up, and we think that's also one of the factors that played very well for the role. Coming up, the process of getting the part. Believe it or not, Butler went to extreme lengths to actually get himself into the role, even before it was confirmed that he'd land it. He started off by watching every Elvis documentary, every film, and every fan-made YouTube video on the star. He followed this with a recording of himself singing the famous Love Me Tender ballad from 1956, but according to him, it looked like an impersonation rather than him playing him. Not liking it at all, he decided not to send it. At one point, Butler wasn't even sure he was the right fit for the role of Elvis, but he used his emotions about his mother's death to shape his audition piece. He sang Unchained Melody as a song of grief rather than romance, dedicating it to his mother, and finding that this approach allowed him to channel his emotions in a genuine way. Weirdly enough, his mother died when he was 23 years old, the same age Elvis was when his mother Gladys passed away. On the other hand, when Luhrmann saw the audition, he was beyond impressed. He actually said that watching the audition, it felt like it was more like spy cam footage than anything else. Luhrmann was already doing his own research about Elvis Presley for a very long time, which also included visiting Graceland undercover. There, he also gathered a lot more information for the film, so being complimented by someone such as that, in addition to being an Oscar nominee, is just an achievement on its own. Coming up, here's how Butler tried to recreate the magic and understand Elvis's relationships. As we said earlier, the way that Butler approached this role is nothing less than impressive. To understand Elvis's psychology, Austin Butler read books like Elvis and the Colonel and focused on the key relationships in Elvis's life, including those with his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, his wife, Priscilla, his father, Vernon, and his mother, Gladys. Through this research, he learned about the conflicts that arose when Elvis began to realize that Parker might be taking advantage of him, despite his loyalty to him. What's even more impressive, though, is that while filming the Elvis Presley biopic, Tom Hanks, who plays Colonel Tom Parker in the film, gave Austin Butler a typewriter, and they began writing to each other in character. Hanks would write letters as Colonel Parker Parker, commenting on Elvis's films and offering advice, while Butler wrote back as Elvis, expressing his thoughts and complaints. This helped them understand their dynamic better, and Butler still has all the typewritten letters. And if that's still not impressive enough to shock you, hear this. After being cast, Butler spent a month in Nashville recording early career Elvis tracks at RCA Studio A, where Elvis had recorded with session players who had worked with Elvis's guitarist, Scotty Moore. This provided him with valuable guidance as he prepared for the role. Finally, how Denzel Washington helped Butler land the role. Lerman explained in an interview how Denzel Washington helped Butler secure the role for the film. He explained how, although he was already impressed with the audition that he had received from the actor himself, the Equalizer actor's cold call helped him seal the deal. Washington told him how he had worked with the actor on stage and had never seen a work ethic as he had. And wow, what a piece of praise from the legend himself. At the end of it all, Lerman was forced to take an audition of the actor himself, putting Butler through a thorough evaluation. He ultimately came to the conclusion that Butler was not just impersonating Elvis, but was actually living him. He had adopted Elvis's personality in a way that made it all feel like a real human character. No doubt, this humanization is also what made Lerman put all his trust in him. Fun fact, Butler went so hard with the performance that he's actually lost his real voice, pointed out by numerous fans who think that he's still doing an Elvis bit in his interviews, but it's actually just him recovering from all of that voice training that he went through for months on end to finally play Elvis. We just hope that he gets to have his own voice back eventually. Moving on, let's talk about how Elvis Presley would have been impressed with Austin Butler's portrayal of him. First up, Elvis's wife initially being skeptical about how Butler would perform. Previously, we've talked about how Priscilla Presley has held Butler in high praise regarding his acting ability, especially in terms of playing her husband in a film. But this wasn't always the case. Lerman revealed how Priscilla was highly doubtful of Butler's hiring as the actor who would play Elvis. In fact, she straight up asked him, how's a skinny kid going to play him, given that he was nowhere close to being skinny, but had a rather obvious big build. But Lerman kept telling her to trust him, and then showed her footage of him as Elvis, to which she said she couldn't believe it wasn't Elvis, but Butler up there. Following up, how Lerman sat down with the family and understood their expectations from the film. Lerman's attempt at recreating Elvis's magic could possibly be one of the most accurate representations of the star to date, and the biggest reason for that is the fact that he actually sat down with the family and tried to take in what he could from them. For starters, he learned very quickly that the Presley family was initially hesitant about allowing the story of Elvis to be told in a film because they were concerned about how the real Elvis would be portrayed. Lerman understood their concerns, as the Elvis depicted in fiction and through impersonations often differed from the man Priscilla Presley knew in real life. Lerman was able to convince the Presley family to support the film by explaining his vision for it. With the popularity that comes with being Presley, you get quite a lot of public exposure, and even though his time was completely different, he's become a pop icon ever since. Being portrayed in kids' movies to people dressing up as him, the humanness that came with him has slowly diminished under all of that, and Lerman has attempted to bring all of that back with the help of his family. Finally, Elvis's own reaction to the performance. Elvis's widow sent Baz Luhrmann a letter after seeing the film about Elvis in which she praised Austin Butler's portrayal of her husband. Luhrmann did not disclose the entire contents of the letter, but he did reveal that Priscilla stated that if Elvis were alive, he would have been impressed by Butler's performance and would have said, "Hot damn, you are me." And sure, we can't obviously get Elvis's own reaction to the performance, but the closest we can get to it is his own family and wife to say what they feel about it. And at the end of the day, if they're happy, that makes all the difference. But here's the thing, they're not just happy, but they actually think it's the closest anyone's ever come to looking and feeling like the late actor and singer, especially his wife. The cherry on top would be if Butler or Luhrmann's film wins the Oscar for this project, and given Priscilla's positive reaction to his performance, it would certainly be well deserved. That's a wrap for this video. What's your opinion of Butler's portrayal of the King of Rock and Roll? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.